Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Doug Purnell, and I'm one of the co-leaders for the Triad Microsoft Data Platform User Group. George Maxon is also one of the other co-leaders, and he's on vacation this week, so it's just me tonight. We are a part of the Azure data community, so Microsoft started this a little bit after when SQL Pass sort of fell through. So there's a ton of other data community user groups. If you go to this URL, you can find more information and find some great sessions. Upcoming events. So there is a SQL Saturday Orlando coming up the end of October. As far as I know, that's in person. So that's the one SQL Saturday event. And then there's also these other events here. So if you go to SQLSaturday.com, you can see all of these and link to them. The nice thing is they collate other conferences on their site, so it makes it easy. And then Dev Intersections down at the bottom, they are in Las Vegas if you're interested in an in-person event. All the others you might want to double check to see if they're virtual or in person. For those who didn't know, all of the past SQL Summit recordings are all available under Past TV. If you go out there, I believe they go back to 2015, 2014. So there's a ton of good sessions. Some of these, even though we're on SQL 19, are still good core DBA, weight stats, DB, the engine, that kind of stuff. So a lot of them still ring true today, even though they were recorded years ago. We have our own YouTube channel. If you just search for Triad Data Platform User Group, we try to record everything and put it up there for you so you can watch it later, so you don't have to worry about taking copious notes during the session. And then for those of you that were past pro members, there was some additional courses that they offered, and those have been put under Redgate. So Redgate bought all of the assets from Pass, and they own those. They're all free now. So the 4 courses are underneath the educational series that you see screenshot there. So if you head out to Redgate University, you'll find these sessions out there and you can go watch them. And with that, I will pass the baton over to Aditi Guguri, and she is going to talk to us about Azure SQL databases. So let me stop sharing, and you should be all set.
Thank you so much, Doug, for having me today. So I hope you are able to see
Yeah, it looks great.
my screen in the presentation mode, right?
Yes, and
Awesome.
if I'll watch the chat, unless you want to, and then if I have any questions, I'll relay them through the screen. Is that good?
Sure. Can we do the question and answer kind of thing in the end? Can we do that?
Yes. Yep. I'll be happy to. Yep. That sounds great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you are joining from. So my name is Deepthi Goguri, and thank you so much, Doug, for having me today. And thank you so much for all the attendees for attending, for taking your valid time and attending your session. This is going to be interesting. This is basically the general introductory session for Azure SQL Database. So if you are new to Azure, or if you have no idea what Azure is, or if you are already into Azure, that will be a quick refresh of what all options we have, deployment options we have in Azure. But if you are not at all familiar with Azure at all, this session will be right for you, because from here on, you can take all the resources I'm going to share in my last slide. And from there, you can start your Azure journey. So let's get started. A little bit about me. I'm a database administrator with 8 years of experience in managing SQL Server and databases. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and Microsoft certified solution expert. I did my master's in computer technology at Eastern Illinois University here in Chicago. And also I am a organizer for a couple of user groups. I'm an organizer for South Florida Data and AI South Florida user group, and also one of the organizers for DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion group, as well as I'm one of the volunteer for Women in Technology user group as well. And yeah, those are a couple of things that I do for the community, and I love speaking. And apart from that, I love doing arts and crafts. I do love making things with my own hands, which gives me real satisfaction. And I do have my own personal blog, which is dbanuggets.com. And if you wanted to get in touch with me later, I am very active on Twitter. If I wanted to speak, like if I'm going to speak in the other sessions, I'm going to speak at past summit as well, and I'm going to speak on a different topic. So if you wanted to know the update, you can contact me on Twitter at DBA Nuggets is my user ID. That's a lot about me, right? I talk too much. So in the agenda, so today we are going to discuss about the deployment options, what all deployment options we have in Azure, and what are the service tiers under each of them. And we'll go ahead and see a simple demo. This will be a basic one. We are going to see how to create an Azure SQL database in the Azure portal by using the Azure portal, and key takeaways. And the most important slide for this presentation is the next steps. So I gathered all the resources that you need to start your Azure journey. And there will be one interesting thing as well I'm going to share with you. So why I started learning Azure in the first place? I'm an on-prem DBA. I do not know anything about Azure, but Azure is one of the cloud technologies that we have out there in the market. And my company is already planning to migrate most of their databases and servers very quickly to the Azure. And as an on-prem DBA, right, they expect me to make sure I know everything about Azure so that I can plan the migration to the Azure and then take care of the databases in the Azure. So if I'm not familiar with Azure, that will be a really difficult task for me to even migrate to Azure, right? So I started learning, and while learning Azure, this is really interesting to me. Just I went ahead and searched in Google of how valuable learning Azure is and what are the opportunities we have if we learn Azure. And I have seen there are many career opportunities, and the pay scale, pay wise, I felt really amazing. The pay scale is really better than the on-prem DBA. So I thought, wow, this is so cool. So why not I learn Azure? I started learning Azure, and then why not I take their certifications, right? Because there are the employers looking out there for potential candidates who have these Azure certifications. So if you are on LinkedIn, just so many people are taking on the certification. So I went ahead and searched like why are these people taking so many certifications? But employers are looking for these candidates who have these certifications. It's like one of the requirements for the job, so that will give them, that will give them the thing like, okay, he can do the job because he have the valid certification. So it is really simple. It is really easy to get started, even if you are not from the programming background or if you are not a DBA. If you do not know T-SQL as well, you can just go ahead and get started with Azure. You'll find it cool. So what are the deployment options we have in Azure? We have two deployment options: infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. Under infrastructure as a service, we have SQL Server on Azure VM. Under the platform as a service, we have Azure SQL Managed Instance and Azure SQL Database. We are mainly focusing on Azure SQL Database in this session, but let's go ahead and see what these deployment options are and how they differ from each other. So first, let's go with SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine. This is similar to the SQL Server on the box product, um, on the Windows machine. But what differs from the regular SQL Server on-prem and SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machine? The main thing is um, Azure is going to take care of, like Microsoft is going to take care of backups. So it will take the automatic backups and it will take care of the security patches. So you can go ahead and choose the Azure virtual machine. It is just like the simple SQL Server on Azure VM. So you can go ahead and choose which version of Azure VM you want, as well as the SQL Server version. So if you wanted to have that OS access, like the operating system access, but you still wanted to use all the capabilities of the SQL Server instance-wide capabilities, right? Then you can choose, like you can move the SQL Server on Azure virtual machine. So the main difference is that Microsoft is going to take care of the backups as well as the security patches, but still you are going to have all of those other capabilities. You can go access the VM at the same time, use the instance level capabilities. But by moving your SQL Server on Azure virtual machine, for example, if you have the older versions of SQL Server, like SQL Server 2008, you know there is no support available right now for that older versions of SQL Server. But if you move your SQL Server, the older version like SQL Server 2018, to the Azure virtual machine, you'll have that extended security updates available, and they are taken care by the Microsoft as well. You can install SQL Server on Azure virtual machine in two ways. You can manually go ahead and install Azure Virtual Machine and then go ahead and install SQL Server on it. But in a simple click, you can go ahead and create a Azure Virtual Machine. And by the time you open the Azure Virtual Machine, your SQL Server is already installed. So how to do that? There is something known as images. Images are nothing but the pre-installed packages of the Azure Virtual Machine in combination with the SQL Server version. So I'm going to show you how these images look like. So you have all the different kinds of combinations of um, virtual machines with the SQL Server. So by creating the Azure like SQL Server on Azure VM, you will automatically install SQL IaaS extension. So what is this extension? This is a free extension basically used to unlock certain capabilities of like automate management and administrative tasks on your Azure portal. If you just manually go ahead and install your Azure virtual machine and then install SQL Server on it, you need to just manually go ahead and install this extension. It is not automatically installed. So how do these images look like? Once you open up the Azure portal, once you install, and then if you have a subscription, if you go to the portal.azure.com, and you have these deployment options, right? If you observe under SQL virtual machine, you have all of these combinations of SQL Server as well as the virtual machine. So you can go ahead and scroll down to see which version you want. You can just simply select it and click and run that image to get everything created for you. Now, what about the SQL managed instance? Like if it is so burdensome for you to take care of the operating system, and if you do not want to bother about taking care of operating system, but you still wanted all the capabilities of using like instance wide capabilities, if you wanted to use everything, like for example the SQL Server agent, service broker, DB mail, linked services, you can use SQL managed instance. So basically, Microsoft is going to take care of operating system. You will not be able to see the drives in it. You will not able to see that. All you can see and use is the instance capabilities. Um, all these instance scope features you can use. But if you do not want to take care of operating system, if you do not bother about taking care of operating system, or you do not want to use the entire instances, you do not want that. You are trying to deploy a new application, a cloud application you wanted to deploy, and all you needed is a database, then Azure SQL database is right for you. All you get is a simple Azure SQL database. You would not have any like you do not get any operating system, or you do not get any instance. So the database is always in the full recovery model. Now, why? There is a reason why, because of this high SLA, right? Service level agreement to To meet the service level agreement of 99.995, definitely the database should be in full recovery model. So you cannot change the recovery model in it. And if you wanted to build the modern cloud applications, right, this option will be right for you. And the database itself, you can go ahead and scale up the storage up till 4 terabytes. But if your database is increasing in size very rapidly and you want to scale up, you can increase the tier to hyperscale, where it can handle up till 100 terabyte of space. And as you only get the SQL database, you will not get any instance. You will also will not get any SQL Server agent. So let's do a couple of comparisons in between Azure SQL Database versus Azure SQL Managed Instance. So the change data capture is not available in Azure SQL Database, but it's there in Managed Instance. Common language runtime not available. Cross database or three-part name queries like database dot schema dot table name. You cannot do that. The cross database queries also you cannot do that in Azure SQL Database. But there is something known as elastic queries to solve that problem, to solve the cross database transaction problem. You won't have that problem at all in Azure SQL Managed Instance. As we are not getting the instance, we are only getting the database. Database mail is also not available. Resource governor is not available. But the feature that is only available for Azure SQL Database is automatic tuning. So automatic tuning is something that it will go ahead and monitor the indexes automatically. And if your indexes are not being used, it will go ahead and drop it. So before enabling this automatic tuning, right, you need to make sure if you are having any queries that will be running only a couple of times in a year, like quarterly or annually, definitely the indexes that are using that will be used underneath that queries will not show up, right? So you need to make sure while you are enabling it, um, you need to check all of those. So it's specifically enabled in Azure SQL Database. And SQL Server agent is not available in Azure SQL Database. So if you want, there are a lot of comparisons between these two deployment options. So for the complete list, please follow the Microsoft document I provided here. So what are the uses of Azure SQL Database? As I said, if you wanted to build the applications very quickly, and if you wanted to reduce the cost a lot, because you are not buying any physical hardware, right? You can just go ahead and scale up and scale down, and that will be immediate once you choose the tiers. And then if you want to scale up and scale down, it takes a couple of minutes to do that. You do not have to buy any physical hardware, or you do not worry about patching, or you do not have to worry about upgrades because it's a versionless. Azure SQL Database is versionless, so you do not have to upgrade, do not have to worry about the compatibility levels, because underneath the hood, the Azure SQL Database will be upgraded to the latest versions without breaking your applications, by the way. So if you are having Azure SQL Database, that high SLA they have to hit, right, the service level agreement of 99.995. So to make sure that is possible, Microsoft is going to take care of the high availability. The high availability is built in under the hood. That means the readable secondaries are available underneath the hood. And if you wanted to fail over, it takes like some seconds of time. So you do not have to worry about building the high availability like you built on-prem, right? It's a big task. It's a big headache to build the high availability servers. And when compared, when comes to the performance, scalability, and security, you do not have to worry much about security because you have private links that you can enable, which are very secure. So how can we deploy these options, right? You can deploy all of these three deployment options by using Azure portal. That's the basic way, Azure portal or Azure command line interface by using ARM templates, which is very famous. Um, or you can use infrastructure as a code by using PowerShell, Pulumi, Terraform, or Bicep. So these comes under the infrastructure as a code. But as this is a very basic introductory session, we are going to use the Azure portal to build our first Azure SQL database. So anything that we touch in Azure, right, it has a cost associated with it. So as a DBA, we need to make sure we understand the cost perspective, the purchasing models clearly, so that we can choose these deployment options like the purchasing models and the different tiers we have underneath it. Um, if you know everything like how much does it cost, it will be much easier for you to make sure your client know how much it might cost to move to Azure. So there are two purchasing models we have. One is DTU model, meaning database transaction per unit according to Microsoft. This is a basic tier. So when they built the Azure SQL database for the first time, this was the only purchasing model they have, the DTU model. So if you choose the DTU model, all you are getting is a bundle of compute and storage, meaning you cannot separate your compute and storage separately. So if you choose a couple of DTUs, that means you are choosing the bundle of resources together. So no matter if you are using within that DTU, if you are trying to use only a couple of memory, but more of storage, you still have to pay for that entire DTU. And you have three tiers underneath the database transaction unit DTU model, which is basic, standard, and premium. As you scale up from basic to premium, the price will be increased, but also your the performance also will increase. The performance of your queries will increase. But the Microsoft is suggesting you to use the vCore model, which is the latest model for your Azure SQL database. So what is the difference between DTU versus vCore? In the vCore model, you can go ahead and choose your compute and the storage separately, like pay as you go. You can go ahead and scale up or scale down the compute and storage. So underneath the vCore model, we have three tiers: general purpose, business critical, and hyperscale. In the coming slide, we are going to discuss what are these three tiers and how they differ from each other. And underneath the vCore model, we do not have a couple of the things in DTU model. So if you choose the vCore model, and if you are planning to migrate your on-prem servers to the Azure, and if you already have the licenses, right? If you already have the licenses for your on-prem SQL servers, but you wanted to move to Azure, there is something known as Azure Hybrid Benefit, meaning that you can go ahead and trade off these licenses that you already have to the Azure, um, to move to the Azure so that you will have up till 40% of discounts. And there is something known as reserved capacity, which is only available under vCore, meaning that if you promise SQL Server that you will be using certain amount of resources way ahead of time for up till 1 to 3 years, you will also get the discounts up till 40% once you move to the Azure. And vCore model is the only model that is the only option for the SQL managed instance. So you cannot choose DTU model for SQL managed instance. But if you wanted to install Azure SQL database, as DTU model is the only model available when they actually build the Azure SQL database, right? So still it is available right now. You can use either DTU or vCore. And once again, for the complete list of differences between each of these tiers, please follow the Microsoft docs down below. As I told you, right, DTU model, no matter if you, like these are completely as a bundle. The compute and the storage will get it as a bundle. So So it seems like the DTU is separate from the data max size, but no matter if you use it or not, the DTU, you have to pay for the entire DTU. You cannot divide in between the computer and storage. Again, we have basic, standard, and premium. As you go from left to right, the cost increases, but also at the same time performance also increase. The vCore model, which is the latest model, recommended model by Microsoft, we have three tiers, service tiers, which is general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. Please remember that under the general purpose, we have two more tiers, two more compute tiers, which are like provision and serverless. Provision is for the regular usage of your applications. Like if you have general workload from day to night, you use provision. But serverless, if you do not, if your users doesn't connect to the database at certain point of times, like at certain period of time in a day, you can go ahead and pause your database. So in that case, you can choose the serverless option. So let's go ahead and compare between all three models: the general purpose, hyperscale, and business critical. But remember that we have provision and serverless options only under the general purpose. So basically, under vCore, you can go ahead and scale up or scale down. You can differentiate between like the compute as well as storage separately. You can pay for them separately. And as you scale up or scale down, you can see the estimated cost per month summary right side your screen. So what is the difference between general purpose, business critical, and hyperscale? These are the service tiers that we have under the vCore model. Under the general purpose, by the name itself, it says it is used general for the general purposes, for the general business purposes, right? Most of the businesses use this general purpose. It is lowest budget model that we have right now under the vCore model, but we will only get one primary. There are no secondary standbys readily available. So what do we mean by that? So if you wanted to fail over, right? With any chance you wanted to fail over, it takes a little bit of time for them to build the secondary standby. It takes very couple of minutes, but then more than the business critical. Like for the business critical, it's readily available. The secondary standbys are readily available, but for the general purpose, it takes a little bit amount of time to build that secondary standby. And under the general purpose, like I said, we have provision as well as serverless. We are going to talk in detail about the provision and serverless in the coming slide. And under the general purpose, we can scale up till 80 vCores. And the storage wise, it will handle up till 4 terabyte of space. When it comes to the business critical, right? By the name itself says it is for the critical businesses, like where I do not want any downtime, right? So if you wanted to um, if you wanted to if you if you wanted any report services, and if you wanted to separate the read only to a different services, if you are having OLTP system, you readily have the readable secondaries. The high availability is already built in underneath the hood. um, when compared with the general purpose, business critical is a little bit costly because you have those readable secondaries readily available, and there are other couple of features um, which also will be added. There is much low latency when compared with the general purpose. In the business critical, it is a little bit high cost when compared with general purpose, and it can handle up till 128 vCores. But the storage wise, it still handle only 4 terabytes. So if your database is growing, you need more space, you can go ahead and scale up by using hyperscale service tier, where it can handle up till 100 terabytes of space. And hyperscale is only available for single Azure SQL databases only. Point-in times are available no matter how big your database is. because underneath the hood, they have the cache layers underneath the hood. We do not know that algorithm exactly, but Microsoft handles that. Um, they they basically store the data at different layers inside the cache itself. So that will make sure you have the point in time restores. And there are 4 readable replicas readily available here. And you can and it can handle up till 80 vcores. Again, there are so many differences. These are the main ones. You can go ahead and look into the Microsoft doc down below to get that entire list of differences. As I told you, under the general purpose, right, we have these 2 compute tiers and only available under general purpose. It's not available in hyperscale or business critical. So provision, meaning if your database will be used regularly, users will be connecting throughout the day. In that case, you are going to use the provisioned compute tier. And once you fix the resources, right, I wanted to use these many resources, no matter if you use them or not at that particular time while your users are connecting, because you are still going to pay for those resources. But that's not the case with the serverless. Like, for example, let's take an application. Let's say timesheet application where your users are connecting on Friday, right? But the activity won't be there from Monday to Thursday, let's say. You can go ahead and pause the database during that time frame so that you don't have to pay for the compute. You do not have to pay for those resources. All you have to pay is for the storage because your database files are still there, but you are not using your database, right? So you can save uh, money by pausing your database. So you can go ahead and pause the database. At the same time, you can go ahead and choose minimum and maximum number of vcores you wanted to use under this computer. So once your user get connected on Friday, no matter like how many users get connected, the compute and the storage will be only used between the minimum and the maximum limits that you choose from. So it is only billed only for the resources that you are using, and it won't cost you. It will only cost you for the storage and not for the compute when your database is in the halt mode, right? You can pause. It's in the pause mode. There are a couple of interesting points to remember. Um, I just started learning Azure, right? So I went ahead just like the on-prem SQL Server. I just went ahead and used database name, and then I wrote my query, which actually failed because we cannot use database name for our Azure SQL database. That's really interesting, right? Because all we get is a database and we do not know underneath the hood what Azure is using, what server or where the database is located. So that's why it won't work. But you can still go ahead and if you're trying to connect your Azure SQL database by using the Management Studio, you can still go ahead and inside the Management Studio, right? You can drop down and then put the database in the context. It still works. So the other point to remember is once you move your Azure SQL database from the lowest tiers to the highest tier, like hyperscale, once you move it, you cannot move back to um, the other tiers. So it's one-time thing. So you need to be very careful about that. You cannot move back to the general purpose or business critical. And once you move to the hyperscale, right, you will not mention the limit, the size limit for the database. Microsoft is going to take care of scaling up the sizes. It will scale up 10 GB as a chunk at a time, up till 100 terabytes. So how do we create Azure SQL database? As I told you in the beginning of the session that we are going to see this in a basic way because this is especially mainly focused for the beginner level, right? So if you do not have Azure port, like if you do not have any account, you can go ahead and create an account by going to portal.azure.com. You will be getting the free resources. Like you will be getting the credit of $180 up till $180, I believe, for 1 month. So you can go ahead and play and see how the Azure works. So once you create the account, right? Once you log in into portal.azure.com, you can see your subscription and all the details. In the search bar, you can go ahead and search Azure SQL, or you can choose from the Azure services, the Azure SQL option. If you do not find under the Azure services, you can go ahead and search for Azure SQL. Press enter. Again, I'm using the slides because many people like this way, um, because I do not want to confuse the attendees by clicking and creating it on the fly, because it might throw me in errors, or for the first time, people looking at the Azure portal, they might get really confused. So I put it in a simple way, taking the screenshot and highlighting things. So once you clicked on Azure SQL page will be open. Go ahead and click on create. This will give you an option to choose the deployment options. All the deployment options we have: Azure SQL database, SQL managed instance, or SQL virtual machine. But we want to create the Azure SQL database, right? Click create. We do have different tabs over here: basics, networking, security. But let's see one thing at a time. So under the basic, um, once you open up the portal, right, you do have the subscription. So choose the subscription which you have, and anything that you create in the Azure, you have to put them under the resource group. So you're creating the Azure SQL database, that should go under the resource group. So if you do not have the resource group already there, you can create it. Click on create new. You can just give the name of it. Click OK and give a database name. To create the database name, there are like certain requirements that we have to follow. Like the characters should be only 128, or there should not be any special characters. Give the database name. Then go ahead and create your logical server. Now, what is this logical server, right? By creating the Azure SQL database, all you get is a database. You do not get a instance. So if you wanted to connect to Azure SQL database by using the Management Studio, how will you connect if you do not have a way to connect it, right? That's when the logical server will kick in. We need to create a logical server for our Azure SQL database, so that you have the ability to open your database using the Management Studio. You will have something to connect to. So click new. Create your logical server by giving the server name, logical server name, and then create your server admin login, password, confirm the password, and then choose the location where you want to place this database. Be careful here to choose, you try to choose the location where you are, because that depends upon the latencies. If you create in some other zones, you might have latencies. For the faster response time, choose the location where you are. Choose the location, press OK. And then it will ask you, want to use SQL Elastic Pool. So what is this SQL Elastic Pool? SQL Elastic Pool is nothing but you combinedly you basically put many database under a single pool. So the advantage we have with that is they will share all the resources. They can share each other, but we are just creating a single Azure SQL database today. So I'm clicking on no, which is by default it's no. The next is compute plus storage. I wanted to go ahead and show you what all options we have here. So click on configure database. Underneath the configure, you have service and compute tiers. Once I click on the service tier, you have all these different options, right, that we have discussed. Like if you see under the vCore model, we have general purpose, hyperscale, business critical. If you see under the DTU, which is available only for the Azure SQL database. You have basic, standard, and premium. Because I wanted to choose the general purpose because that's the lowest cost model, right? This is my demo. So I wanted to create general purpose tier. I choose that. And under the compute tier, right, we have two options, provision and serverless. In this demo, I wanted to create the provision and the hardware configuration. We have a couple of options here. Click on change configuration to see what all configuration options we have. So the lowest cost one is Gen 5, like the basic one. But as you go up, the DC series, M series, these are for the hyperscale, and also they cost more. This is my demo, so I wanted to use the basic one, which is Gen 5. Click on that and go ahead and choose how many vCores you need and the data max size also. So as you scale up, you will go ahead and see the cost summary right side your screen. That's the estimated cost per month. Click on apply, and there is one more option here. Would you like to make this database zone redundant? Again, I do not want that, so I clicked on no. Hit apply, and it asks us like backup storage redundancy. So there are three options here. Locally redundant backup storage will actually store 3 copies of the database locally on the primary location. Zone redundant meaning it will go ahead and save the copies of the database um, on the primary as well as as well as Azure availability zones as well. So it will store as well as it will asynchronously store in different locations. Slow redundant is it will store the copies on primary as well as in the different secondary locations. I wanted to choose locally. I choose locally. And then the network connectivity. So no access meaning nobody can access this database. Public endpoint is a like I wanted to connect to the Azure SQL database from my local management studio. I put the public endpoint. This is not like the securest one, but for your databases, if you wanted to create, you always have to choose the private endpoint. I choose public endpoint. And then comes the firewall rules, right? I added the current IP address as yes, because I want my uh, local computer to access the Azure portal, Azure SQL database. So if I hit no here, I will not be able to connect to the Azure SQL database locally. So I clicked on yes, and connection policies you can choose. There are something known as like transparent layer security that you can choose from. We are not going to talk about in depth in this session. And under the security, right, you have Azure Defender for SQL. So this is not a free option to choose. This is not a free feature. Basically, by choosing this, you can go ahead and choose like you can check for the any vulnerability assessments that you can have on your Azure SQL database, and you will have to purchase this, which is like $15 per month per server. So I don't want to do that now, so I clicked on no, not now. Additional options. Under the additional options, it will ask you how do you want to get that data inside for your Azure SQL database. None meaning it will create a brand new database name. You will not have anything in it. Backup you can restore from the backup. Sample will always create the AdventureWorks database as a sample. So I just wanted to create the empty database here so that I can create a table later and then query from that table. And the collation, right? Collation is always the same, which you are seeing here. So whenever you are creating Azure SQL database, Be careful near the collation because once you create the database with a collation, you cannot change it back. So make sure you're creating it in the right way and the right collation you want. Maintenance window, I'm choosing the default one, but you can go ahead and choose the different options like when you want your database to be maintained. I'm putting the system default, which is 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. Tags. Tags are they don't do any purpose specifically. That's not a feature. But if you click on the tags, right, you just are giving certain names so that once you go ahead and see the purchase options and then how much each one costs, these tags will be helpful for you to easily identify what resources cost how much. So these are just like the tags. Review and create. Review all the options that you have chosen from and click on create, which will take a couple of seconds to go ahead and create the logical server as well as the database. So you can see the deployment is in progress. Logical server will be built first and then the database will be created later. Once your deployment is complete, it will clearly show you. Click on go to resource to see our logical server name. That's where you wanted to copy the server name. So click on the clipboard. It is available just side to the logical name. You can copy to the clipboard and you can connect to the Azure SQL database using your management studio. Copy to the clipboard and then go to your management studio as we actually added the local IP address while we created the database, right? It will allow me to connect to the Azure SQL database by using my management studio. So give the server name and then authentication, SQL Server authentication, because I have an ID and password. I have created that while I was creating the logical server, right? So give the login and the password. Click on connect, where you can connect to the Azure SQL database. It looks like the server, SQL Server itself, but you do not have the SQL agent. If you observe, all you get is a database, and you have the security. So underneath it, we do not have any tables. For the sample, I just wanted to create a sample table with 3 rows in it. So it is the same T-SQL query, just like we create the table on the on-prem. So I created the table and then I went ahead and queried it. So when I was doing this, it took me just for these 3 columns, three rows, right? It took me a couple of minutes, like couple of seconds to get the result. So if you wanted that performance boost, right, you need to go from the lower tiers, service tiers to the high tier service tier. So if you are feeling that the performance is not as you wish to have, you can go ahead and upgrade the tiers. So backup and restores, like backups are taken care by the Microsoft, but you can manually take the backup and restore as well. But how do the backups happen for my Azure SQL database? Since I don't do it, I need to know what's going on and how Microsoft is going to take care of it. So backups are globally replicated, and full backup is taken every week once it is taken, and transaction logs are taken for every 5 to 10 minutes, and the differential backups are taken for every 12 hours once it is taken. But I wanted to manually take the backup, uh, the fresh backup, and then restore somewhere else. So how can we do that? We can do that um, by using Management Studio, or you can also do that by using Azure Data Studio. So we are going to see that in both ways. Like connect to the Management Studio, connect to your Azure SQL database, right click the database, go to task, and click on export data tier application. So when you do that, you can go ahead and save your backup in the form of backpack BAC PAC format. So you can store either on Microsoft Azure, you need to have a storage account to save your backup. I do not have a storage account because it will cost me um, credits to do that. I have only limited credits from a demo, so I wanted to save it on the disk. So I choose to save it on the local disk. And then if you see, it has saved as backpack, where you can go ahead and restore your database as well. That's one way. So you can see what all settings you have clicked, and you can create that backpack file. That will create a um, backup copy that can be restored. And you can also do the same by using the Azure Data Studio. It's pretty simple on Azure Data Studio. This is an application that you can download for free, Azure Data Studio, where you can go ahead and connect to the Azure SQL database. So once you can directly go ahead and log in by using your login ID and the password um, to enter to see all of the resources that you have in the Azure Data Studio. So right click the database and then click on the backup. That will directly take a backup of your database. So we have talked about the introduction of the Azure SQL database, what all deployment options we have, and what all the service tiers we have, and underneath the general purpose, what all compute tiers we have. But now you might say, okay, I understood the basic concepts, but do I have any tools for my migration to the Azure? Because I have no idea which tier will be best for my workload, for my databases. Is there any way that can tell me your database need this tier to move to the Azure? Are there any tools? Yes, we do have a couple of tools which can help you migrate to the Azure. There is something known as Azure TCO, TCO meaning total cost of ownership, which can actually give you an estimate of how much it will cost for you to move your databases to Azure. This is really useful. So if you type in Google Azure TCO, it will directly take you to the page where you can go ahead and calculate. And there is something known as Q recommender, um, the Azure SQL database. So SKU recommender will basically use the data migration assistant that you might already know that we usually use for the database upgrades, right, to find the compatibility issues. So SKU recommender is basically it will take all your workload, it will analyze your workload, your databases, and it will give you the recommendation of what tier might be useful for you, which compute tier might be useful for you, and service tiers. And you can also use SQL Azure Migration Wizard as well as Azure Database Migration Services. So the last one, Azure Database Migration Services, has a cost associated with it. It is not for free. So the key takeaways are, I felt Azure SQL is cool. You do not have to be a DBA or you do not have to be a programmer to start Azure, because you have seen while I was going through the demo, right, how easy it is to navigate and create the objects. As you learn more, you can also get familiar with the other tool like Bicep, or how to install it in a different way, like using PowerShell, or other using the other infrastructure as a um, code services, like how to install all of these by using the other options. It is easy to learn. Anyone can get started. And performance wise, you have a couple of options. Like for example, let's talk about the query store. Query store, if any new features are being introduced, they are first introduced in Azure SQL database. Currently, they are like automatic tuning option, which is available for the Azure SQL database. So basically, um, it will go ahead and force or unforce the plans based upon the performance and based upon your execution plans. Like if you have an execution plan which is working fine, but for some reason you have a new execution plan created, which is not performing fine. So this automatic tuning, what it will does, it will go ahead and still force the plan to use the old best plan instead of using the new one. So there are uh, many performance benefits like that. The automatic tuning of the indexes that you can use by using the Azure SQL database. It will save a lot of money because you are not you're not buying an entire hardware to build your Azure SQL database, or you do not have to do patching or upgrades, right? Because it's a versionless and less maintenance, definitely. But as a DBA, do not panic that we will have certain, we might get affected because we are moving to Azure SQL. All these migrations or after moving to the Azure world, right? We still have to know all of the deployment options or purchasing models, how much might it cost, or in the coming next couple of years, how much it might cost. We are responsible to give all of these calculations and details to our client. And once we move to the Azure SQL, we are still responsible for the performance because it's all the queries running behind, no matter if you're on Azure or if you're on-prem. Still, our queries are hitting a SQL server right behind the scenes. So if your queries are not performing well, we are responsible to go ahead and look into performance tuning, and we are still going to take care of all of that. It's like DBA on the cloud with additional responsibilities. This is the main important slide that I wanted to discuss. You might think, what's in there? I can go ahead and Google or do the YouTube. But the last one, many people doesn't know about it. I came to know very recently, like a month or 2 months ago, about the Microsoft Virtual Training Days. So if you go ahead and search for Microsoft Virtual Training Days in Google, you get a page like detailing all of the certifications. These are the basic certifications available. The training is provided by the Microsoft for free. Once you complete the training, right? These trainings are actually throughout the year, so you can go ahead and choose the dates, available dates you are available, so that you can go ahead and take this training. Once you complete the training, they will give you a coupon code where you can go ahead and take the certifications for free. So when you go ahead and search for it, you will find most of them are the basic trainings, like getting started with artificial intelligence or getting started with Azure SQL database, those kind of certifications. So these are really helpful, like if you are starting new, or if you are if you have a deep knowledge on one topic, but if you wanted to also know about other, you can go ahead and take the training, take that first step and take the certification, and then you can start from there. Along with that, all of the above resources from the last, if you see, these are the resources that you have in YouTube. Like if you search for Microsoft Learn TV, Anna Hoffman and Bob Ward, uh, they have put together a couple of training videos. Each video is about like 1 hour to 1.5 hours. But by following all of those videos, right, one by one, you can go ahead and take some of the high level certifications as well, because they are very in detail. I prepared my presentation by looking at those Azure SQL fundamentals videos itself by Bob Ward and Anna Hoffman. So these are the resources you need, and there are certain SQL workshops where you can go ahead and practice all you learn. Um, and if you are more into like not listening or watching, but if you are more into like reading and learning, um, Microsoft Docs is the best one because they have divided it into modules where you can go ahead, and also you have videos attached to those, like 1 hour videos each module have. So it's a very good, learning experience for free. Again, I followed Microsoft Docs as well as Azure SQL database videos to prepare my presentation. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, Twitter is the main one, and LinkedIn is also the main one. I am very active on both of them. At DBA Nuggets is my user ID, and dbanuggets.com is my website. Um, I do blog regularly. I got like couple of months I did not blog anything, but yeah, I'll keep that in track again. I'll start blogging again. So yeah, thank you so much, Doug, for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and I hope you all liked it. This is a basic session, but I think this will be useful, very useful for anyone who wanted to start the journey. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I think we're all set. This will be posted in a few days. I put the link in the chat, or you can just search for Triad Data Platform User Group on YouTube, and you'll find us there. And thank you again, Deepthi, and great job. And
Thank
we
you so
will
much.
talk to everyone later. I don't see any more, a lot of thank yous and everything like that. And Sean's looking forward to playing with Azure. So nice job. I don't see any
How
questions. So.